Okay, so welcome to everybody. Thank you for making time on a public holiday in South Africa and on a weekday evening to come join us. This is the first session of our blockchain education series. So thank you for joining us for this. Before we begin, I'm going to invite Khurram Kalia, who's the chairperson of the WMO Global Youth Wing, to give an introduction to the Global Youth Wing, our activities, our projects. It's going to be a really short introduction. He's going to say a short dua, as is customary for us to, before we begin anything that we do, especially meetings. And then we'll have our speaker, Jonty Sacks, who will come and give us a really simple, easy to understand session on understanding cryptocurrencies. So welcome, Khurram Bhai. I'm gonna just ask you to turn on your camera and begin.
Thank you so much, Sadaf. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Fair enough. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Let's just start with a short recitation from Quran, and then we'll move forward with the agenda. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم. Thank you so much, Sadaf, and welcome everybody. Mashallah, I've seen the participant list is growing very fast. We are almost touching 50 now. So welcome to all of you. Special welcome to Jonty. Thank you for taking time out and being the speaker of this session today. Am I audible and clear? Can everybody
hear me? You are audible and clear. Yes, you are. I've stopped sharing screen whenever you want. If you want me to share any slides, just let me know.
No, I think that I'll wing it. Okay, so starting from an introduction of WMO itself, and then moving on to Global Youth Wing. Obviously, this is a project and initiative taken by the GYW South Africa team under Sadaf's leadership. So WMO basically, and especially for Jonty and other people who are perhaps not aware of WMO, is World Mammon Organization. It's registered in the UK as a charitable organization. It represents a community of people which are called Mammon. We have approximately around 3 million Mammons globally. WMO is the global representative for Mammons and is operating in 8 chapters or 8 countries across the world, where we have a concentration of Mammons. And one of them is obviously South Africa and African chapter. Within WMO, we have a youth wing. I head that youth wing, and in each of the chapters, we have a regional vice chairman. And for South Africa now, Sadaf is the regional vice chairman, and she's heading there and building a nice team and nice momentum out there. The basic objectives and intents around WMO is for the welfare of the community and to enhance, to elevate, to uplift the lifestyle and the living standards and of Mammons globally. And when it comes to Global Youth Wing, we like to engage our youth in meaningful projects and activities. We like to give them opportunities all the way from employment to entrepreneurship to skills enhancement, and in general, elevating their life standards, living standards, by giving them better opportunities of living and earning their livelihood. And one of the aspects obviously is in nowadays, cryptocurrency or blockchain based technologies. Cryptocurrency has enjoyed what I can call kind of a love and hate kind of reputation. Unfortunately, in the beginning, it was considered something of a taboo, something of speculation, gambling, means of money laundering, and means of illegal activities, etc. But slowly and gradually, with the passage of time, people have come to realize its efficacy, effectiveness, and benefits that go with it. especially if you look at the stance of governments globally over the last 12 months, especially from what I've seen, a stance where they were thinking of taking measures to curb it and stop it and how to block it. They have changed that to how to manage it, to regularize it. And that stance change is because of the pervasiveness and the mass adoption of crypto globally that has happened. And that presents somewhat of an opportunity for people to use this asset class, which is a risky asset class. Of course, the caveat has to be provided that it's not for goes without risks, of course, just like with any other business, but this can be considered more risky. A lot of people would say that it doesn't have any fundamentals, so it goes, volatility is very high. And I'm sure Jonty, being from this industry, uh, somewhat of a veteran, Jonty, uh, so he will be telling us a lot more about it and demystifying some of the myths that surround cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies, and perhaps give us an insight as a beginning, as an introduction to people who are perhaps not very well aware of this asset class or as a technology, on how we can benefit from it, how as our youth, especially from an entrepreneurial perspective, how can we benefit from it. So we look forward to that talk from Jonty. And for the benefit of others, in terms of the projects that we are doing in youth, we have our spearhead project, our flagship project in the form of WMO Elevate, which is an online job portal that allows our youth to seek out better employment opportunities globally. And the second step and the third step of this same initiative is to provide freelancing opportunities to our youth as well. So we'll be going out and allowing the people who have the skills or who can acquire the skills of providing freelance services to our to the international market. And that can really elevate. I've seen people who used to make maybe $300 a month go on to start making $2,500 $3,000 a month, and that's an amazing opportunity that we are going to be enhancing. Then, as part of the same Elevate program is skills development, where we are going to provide, and we are providing trainings on soft skills like how to conduct an interview, how to prepare for an interview, how to prepare a CV, and alternate learning opportunities. So investment in cryptocurrency, for example, now, but investment in capital markets, we are doing programs called Trading Titan, which is a series of trainings that allow a person to benefit from investments in capital markets, stock exchanges. And then it is going to culminate with an online competition using virtual currency, and the winners will get not only prizes but opportunities of internships and jobs in leading brokerage houses across the world. So that's another program. Then we are also doing a lot of work on making this earth that we live on, the home that we have, a better place. So doing our bit, our contribution. We have a program called WMO2, which is World Mammon Oxygen, or a tree plantation drive, where we have an ambitious vision to plant one tree for every Mammon on this planet. And we'll go on to become the first and the only community that has done that in the history of mankind, that has a tree planted for each and every member of its community. So that's a program that we have started, and it's already operating in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and now in Africa as well. And then we'll be expanding it to other countries as well. Then we have another program, which is very important, entrepreneurship building, a program very similar to the Shark Tank or the Dragon's Den, if you're aware of. It's called Eagle's Nest, and where we have the celebrated, successful business tycoons and businessmen of our community. They are going to receive and listen to business plans and pitches from young entrepreneurs. And if that opportunity makes sense to them, then they will invest in that opportunity, not just through dumb capital, but also providing guidance, counseling, and coaching and mentoring, so that they can nurture that business, the entrepreneur, into a successful businessman. And that really is a journey that we are really looking forward to starting in the next couple of months. We have already signed up a lot of these successful businessmen who are very graciously accepted to be the eagles on Eagle's Nest. So this is just some glimpse of the work that we are doing as far as WMO and GYW is concerned. And this is where this particular series program, when I personally believe, and my discussions with Sadaf as well, that now is the time that we expose, we take our youth to give them an opportunity to learn and understand crypto. And if that converts into some sort of an opportunity for them, then obviously that is a great thing. However, the caveat I will have to repeat once again, there is no investment advisory as part of this. This is purely educational. This is purely something that you will be able to understand and learn, and then you'll be able to build on top of that through your own research, through talking to the experts, and then making sure that you do and take your own risk management and risk mitigation strategies in place before putting your hard-earned capital into this. And with that, I would like to request Jonty. Jonty is obviously a partner. Jonty, thank you so much for taking time out today in Jaltech Pty Ltd, South Africa, and which is the only traditional alternative investment firm in South Africa that offers cryptocurrency investments. So I guess that makes you kind of a pioneer in the region, right? And the fact that it's an alternative investment and traditional at the same time means that you're regulated and obviously doing everything as per the regulations and the requirements of the law, which is a very good thing because there is a lot of unfortunate scenarios in the crypto industry, as we all know. So I'm sure with this kind of a strategic thought leader that Jonty is, and I've gone through your profile, it's very remarkable, very impressive, Jonty. Thank you so much for taking time out and speaking to our youth today, and really look forward to it. And I'm sure that people will have a lot of questions that we can take at the end of the talk as well. Over to you, Sadaf. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted, sorry. Yeah, Jonty, thank you so much, for making time out today. I'm just going to put in a housekeeping message. Please, if anybody has questions, you're most welcome to, put it in. There's like a Q&A box at the bottom of the, on the Zoom panel. So if you just put in your questions there, we will take them at the end of the session. So Jonty's session is going to be 45 minutes long, and then we've got about 10 or 15 minutes for questions, depending on how we go. So yeah, just put it in there and we'll get to it at the end of the session. But as we go, you're most welcome to put your questions forward. And then Jonty will also share his contact details with us in case anybody has any questions for him. You can take it up, any maybe questions that can't be addressed in this session, you can take it up with him later. So over to you, Jonty. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Karam, firstly, thank you very much for my introduction. It's very nice of you, and giving me oversight into the organization. And obviously, I've sat down with Sadaf, and I'm quite familiar with what you and the organization do, and I think it's really remarkable. And it's an honor for me to be present today. And Sadaf, well done for putting this all together. I can see by the rate of attendees, you can have a significant amount of people here. So well done to you. I am pushed for time. I've only been allocated 45 minutes, and if it was up to me, we'd be here all day, but it's not. So I've got a lot to take you through. As I've mentioned, please put in some, if you have any questions, feel free to insert your questions, and I'll get to them. Although the agenda says we are looking at blockchain, where are the investment opportunities, who should be investing in adoption, I've got way more to share with you, and I hope that the 45-minute allocation will allow me to get there. So let me go ahead. But again, this is not financial advice. I'm going to just give you some insight into this market. So one of the most challenging things for a lot of people is really to understand this technology behind cryptocurrency. And I'm going to try and explain it in the most simple or simplistic way I can. I'm going to be using phrases that you and I use on a daily basis. I'm not going to go into the technical jargon, which a lot of crypto people go into. The intention of today is really introduction. So what is a blockchain? So imagine you're in your office, you send a message to a coworker over your internal network, or you send a file. that communication between you and your colleague, you're effectively on a network. And that's what blockchain is. It's a network where there are 10 or 10 million or a billion people who are on the same network. But the key difference between your work network and the blockchain is your work network has a central server where all information is stored, and potentially it's stored secondary on a cloud. And you have one person, the CEO or the chief technology officer, who controls the server, and they can make decisions. They can say, you know, we're kicking Jonty off the network. Jonty can't message this person. Jonty message this person something inappropriate. Let me delete his message to, you know, make sure that Jonty isn't caught out. But they really are the central figure who can make all the decisions. And that is the fundamental point that I need to get across today, is that in the blockchain world, there isn't a central authority. It is decentralized. In other words, every single person or peer on the network store the information. So every single communication, every file, anything that is sent on the network is stored independently by everyone. And this technology really allows or prevents fraud. It prevents one network being dependent on a central server to store the information, because if the server gets stolen or is corrupted, all that information is lost. And a great example is in South Africa last year on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It had the biggest trading day. Millions and millions of trades were done in a single day, so much so that the exchange got overwhelmed, and the following day it opened up late. Now imagine it completely collapsed. It would have taken maybe 2 days to restore, but we are now in this world that we live in, we are dependent on a central authority to control everything and to store information. And the control is obviously what concerns many people, and is the main reason why blockchain has really taken off. So a good example in Canada, during this Russia and the Ukraine issue, in Canada, the truckers were striking, and people were donating to truckers via cryptocurrencies, and the authorities prevented banks from transferring money to exchanges. They were the decision maker. They can control your purse, they can control your decisions, and blockchain is really going to revolutionize how networks operate. So if you're a South African, a simple example is the South African Reserve Bank. It controls the Nedbank, FNB, all the banks. It stores all the information, it makes all the decision, decides whether we print more money, it decides whether it increases interest rates. In the blockchain world, every single peer on the network has a vote, and collectively they make decisions. Now, I'm going to try and give you a simple example. If you're in South Africa, you may know these cities or towns, but let's assume for a moment that DHL, or in South Africa, everyone uses Postnet, decides that it's going to introduce blockchain into its business. So what happens is I'm the sender. I'm in Pretoria, which is PTA, is short for Pretoria, and I want to send a parcel to a friend of mine in Cape Town. So I walk into the local branch of Postnet and I drop a box, and immediately the Postnet in Pretoria records that Jonty Sacks dropped a 3-kilogram parcel destined for Cape Town. And as soon as that computer records that transaction, simultaneously every single other store in the country will record the same transaction independently on its own journal or ledger. Now, the delivery man, Mr. X, comes along, he picks up my parcel, and before going to Cape Town, he needs to go via Johannesburg. So as he leaves, the blockchain records that Mr. X has collected Jonty's parcel, it's destined for Cape Town, he's going via Johannesburg. He arrives in Johannesburg, and the branch in Johannesburg records that Jonty's parcel being couriered by Mr. X has arrived in Johannesburg. And simultaneously, all the other branches, blockchains record the same transaction. Now, I can carry on, but as mundane as this sounds, what really is happening is Mr. X is the only point of failure. The delivery person, if my parcel goes missing, they can go onto the blockchain and see that actually the last point of call was Johannesburg. The branch officer in Johannesburg, he cannot go and erase the fact that my parcel arrived there because it's been recorded on the Cape Town, on the Pretoria, on the Bloemfontein ledgers that it has arrived there. So he can't collude with the driver and erase my parcel. And this is just a very simplistic way to demonstrate that now with blockchain, we are decentralizing the recording of information, but simultaneously, we're also decentralizing the decisions being made. So if the branch manager wants to delete the recording, he would need to get the permission of at least, in some cases, more than 51% of the people who are on the network. So that's very, very basic what really blockchain is. So where does blockchain fit into cryptocurrency? Well, blockchain is the infrastructure. So imagine for a moment, you're about to start a new business and you need to decide whether you're going to use Apple or Microsoft. It's really the system behind your business which is going to help your business operate. And in the crypto world, we call this layer one. And within blockchain, there are lots of blockchain providers. There's Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, many players competing for, competing to be the mainstream blockchain technology provider. Then you have what we call protocols or businesses, which now operate off the back of the blockchain. What they do is they put code together, and this code, independently operates on the blockchain, and these businesses are formed. And I'll give you a couple of examples of protocols or businesses in a couple of slides. But it's important for you to know that that blockchain, the technology, is the infrastructure on which cryptocurrencies are built. Well, I'll give you more information in a few minutes. So, where are the investment opportunities? Well, when someone hears cryptocurrency, they normally always default to Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but it falls within the category of digital currency. Bitcoin is trying to compete with the rand, with the dollar, the yen. That is its function, and it's a store of value in some people's view. But in the cryptocurrency world, that is just one opportunity in the space. There are other opportunities. For example, DeFi, decentralized financial institutes. And effectively, there are businesses in the financial world, and I'll give you some examples a bit later, that are building their businesses off blockchain, and you can get exposure to these opportunities through cryptocurrencies, which are linked to these businesses. There are cryptocurrencies in the metaverse, like Decentraland, where you can buy a cryptocurrency linked to Decentraland or other metaverses, and if those metaverses become very valuable, well, then your cryptocurrency will be very, very valuable. But there are really infinite, I think there are now 16,000 different types of cryptocurrencies in the world, and they all fall in different categories. But Bitcoin or Litecoin or stable coins are really digital currencies. So let me get on to that. So I've broken the next few slides into three sectors, and let me take you through them. So the first is digital currency. So Bitcoin is one of the fastest growing cryptocurrencies in the world. And it could be another example is obviously Bitcoin, and Litecoin is an example, and then we have something called a stable coin. A stable coin like Tether, which you're seeing on the screen, is a cryptocurrency which is linked or pegged to a real asset in the world. So Tether is really linked to the dollar, and if you had to buy this cryptocurrency, you'd really be buying a cryptocurrency which will fluctuate its price based on the dollar's value. Now, why are digital currencies become so popular? Well, they've got many properties, and these properties are very similar to actual real money or fiat currency as it's termed. And these properties are that cryptocurrency are scarce. In the Bitcoin as an example, there's a limited supply. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins ever. So it's scarce. It's divisible, it can be divided into really, really small amounts. It's transportable. And this for me is a fundamental. If I want to send a family member money in America, and today being a public holiday in South Africa, if I did it through the traditional means of a bank, I would transfer the money today. My bank would only pick up the transaction tomorrow, and it'll take a few days to settle. In the cryptocurrency world, it'll take seconds and at a fraction of the price, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Other properties include it's obviously recognizable, it's durable, and what many, many people believe is the key characteristic is it's decentralized. There isn't a reserve bank that is making a decision whether to print more of a particular cryptocurrency or not. And that is key because many believe that this is one of the reasons why inflation shouldn't affect cryptocurrencies. So where's the market in terms of digital currencies? Well, if you can have a look here over the years, Bitcoin has really dominated the market. It's grown significantly over the last 10 or so years. If you look at it as a return in terms of actual monetary returns, and this was as of January, Bitcoin has really outperformed gold, the S&P 500, Amazon, Tesla, one of the best performing equities in the world. It's really ballooned and outperformed these, but it's a high risk investment. So that's, really quickly in a nutshell, digital currency. You may be a believer that Bitcoin will be worth millions and millions of rands, or you may not be. But it is only one of many options of investment, of storage of value that there is in the market. The second type is something called a utility token. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when I drop off a parcel in Pretoria, destined for Cape Town, if Postnet or DHL chose Ethereum, which is the symbol on the left-hand side of the screen, Ethereum is the biggest by market cap blockchain technology provider in the world. If they chose to be on the Ethereum network, just like any other network, any participant or transaction, the participant would have to settle or pay a fee for that transaction. And that fee is paid not in rands or in dollars. It is paid in the native token or cryptocurrency of that blockchain. So what does this really mean is if I'm transacting on the Ethereum network, I would need to go and buy an Ethereum token. Ethereum currently is experiencing over 1 million trades a day. So there are over 1 million people who are having to buy Ethereum in order to settle a transaction on this network. So the more people that are buying Ethereum, the price will go up. The more companies building their businesses or protocols on the Ethereum network, and the more customers they have, those customers would have to buy Ethereum directly or indirectly. And as a result, when more and more people are buying a specific good or cryptocurrency, the price will go up. Similarly, investors who are noticing the movement of the price, they might not need Ethereum to do a transaction. They might just say, I want to hold Ethereum because clearly the price is going up. So they buy Ethereum. And as a result, the price goes up. And that is why we're seeing the likes of Ethereum, Solana really performing well in the market, because more and more businesses and protocols are using these networks. And here's just a visual illustration of Ethereum, which is the symbol in the center of the circle, and all these businesses or protocols which are building on the Ethereum network. And as a result, the price should go up. I mentioned there's multiple players in the market: Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, some of the key players called Dono, which I'm not a huge fan of, but there are many, many players in this market. If you look at in approximately November, December last year, the market cap of Ethereum exceeded many of the large banks around the world. This is the magnitude, the size of this technology in terms of scale and market cap. It is really, really not something to ignore, and I'm going to touch on it in a few slides to come. So I explained that you can invest into digital currency, You can invest into a utility token, which is linked to a blockchain, or you can identify one or multiple businesses that have their own cryptocurrency, and obviously they are working off a blockchain network. And I'll give you two examples. The first example, and it might not be Sharia compliant, is Aave. Aave is a DeFi or decentralized financial institution. What it does is it allows people who don't want to sell their cryptocurrency to deposit their cryptocurrency on their platform, and Aave, which is effectively the bank, would then hold the cryptocurrency as collateral and give the person a loan. An interest rate will be charged to the person. Amazingly, in most instances, if I wanted to borrow 100 Rand, I'd have to deposit 100 Rands worth of cryptocurrencies. Similarly, if I wanted to earn an interest rate, I could deposit money with Aave and I could earn an interest rate. Now, Aave has over 225 billion Rand in liquidity. Its market cap as of December was 240 billion Rand. And it executes thousands of transactions daily. And the most amazing part of this all is that it has 0 employees. What I mean? Well, Aave is a protocol. It's a set of code which has been developed by developers. And this code has a set of rules. And once it's been formed and in operations, those rules do not change. And it just operates independently. If you meet the requirements of Aave to borrow or to lend, automatically you receive the money or the interest rate. And that is why this does not need people. And it's grown significantly over the last 5 years. Another good example is Uniswap. Uniswap is an exchange. If I have Bitcoin and I do a transaction on an Ethereum network and I need to buy ETH, well, I deposit my Bitcoin on Uniswap and I can automatically buy my Ethereum or many other cryptocurrencies. So it's effectively a stock exchange for cryptocurrencies, and its market cap is over 64 billion Rand. And similarly, it's a set of code built on the blockchain. And this is just two examples of many, many, many protocols or businesses that have been built on the blockchain. So those are the three main opportunities. There are others, and I'm going to touch on them briefly. But if you are looking at this market, the more or the less riskier investment opportunities, I believe, are digital currencies, utility tokens, and certain protocols. Other opportunities are, example, yield farming. Yield farming is where you deposit cryptocurrency on businesses like Aave and many others, and you look for the best interest rate. It's very technical, but the returns are, really decent, anywhere between 8 and 25% in dollars. But again, there's an interest rate component. So from a Sharia perspective, it might be an issue. Another example is NFTs. NFTs receive their popularity in the art industry, where the likes of the ex-CEO of Twitter selling his first post for millions of dollars. Other famous artists really storing their images on the blockchain and then selling it. Now, I personally don't believe, and I might be completely mistaken, but I don't really believe that digital art has much value. But thousands of people would disagree with me. But where I see a huge opportunity is an NFT is ignore the art component. What you could do is you could store really any digital image on a blockchain and then trade or transact with that image. And I'll give you a simple example. In South Africa, if you want to buy a property, it'll take anywhere between 3 and 6 months for that property transfer to go through the master's office in South Africa. If all the title deeds in the country were on a blockchain, I would be able to very quickly buy a property and receive the token or the NFT linked to a property, the master's office or the receiver would instantly receive payment of taxes, and it would just make everything more efficient. That is one example. Doctors or medical aides could store patients' details on in NFTs, and if you're traveling anywhere in the world, and heaven forbid you need access to your medical records, it could be on a blockchain, and any doctor anywhere in the world would be able to go onto the blockchain and receive your details, obviously with your permission. Another opportunity in the market is the metaverse, and the metaverse is really a virtual world. Imagine a PlayStation game where you can walk around, you could sit at a desk with virtual goggles and look to your left and see your coworker, virtually walk into the boardroom, and it would feel as if you were in your classroom, in your actual office. This is the world that Meta, or Facebook as it used to be called, is trying to develop. It's a world where people who can work remotely will thrive. If you are a computer expert, or if you are a call operator, you could really be working anywhere in the world in a virtual environment. This might not necessarily work for doctors or psychologists who need to really see the people, but there is definitely a space for this, and Facebook is investing $10 billion a year into this opportunity. Now, if you are anti-cryptocurrency, and if the next few slides do not persuade you otherwise, well, then I don't know what to say. But what I'm going to be showing you is the adoption rate of cryptocurrencies, and that for me is what investors should be focusing on. Most investors or potential or speculators or spectators in this market pay way too much attention on the short-term volatility or price movement of cryptocurrencies. Very few people really have an understanding as to what is actually going on behind the scenes within these protocols, within these blockchains. And a simple example, if you look at the far right-hand side of the screen, the Ethereum network over the last 180 days had revenue of $2.7 billion. It's a huge number. Third from the end, OpenSea is one of the most popular NFT marketplaces where people can buy and sell NFTs. Over the last 180 days, its turnover was over $352 million. This is a massive industry. It is seeing huge growth. It is seeing lots and lots of revenue, but the adoption rate is still small in comparison to your equities markets, in comparison to gold, etc. We are, in my view, at the infancy stage of cryptocurrencies, and you'll see shortly when it's going to really ramp up. If you have a look at the number of Bitcoin addresses in the world, there are over 1 billion addresses, and you can see over the years how this has completely just scaled up. Ethereum, and again, I use it as an example because it is really the best or the largest blockchain network in the market. It is seeing huge amount of transactions on a monthly basis, and you can see in approximately March of 2021, it peaked at over, around 45 million transactions a day, and it's currently hovering at just over 30 transactions a day, which is effectively 1 million transactions a day. That is huge volumes in this space. As a result, businesses are really diving into cryptocurrencies. They're trying to open up payment gates so that the customers can transact in whatever cryptocurrency they like. We're seeing individuals owning cryptocurrencies. These are recent statistics. In Africa alone, 32 million people, in Europe, 38 million people, and growing at a rapid rate. Some view that in the next 5 years, half the population would have interacted with cryptocurrencies. If you look at ownership in some of these countries, Brazil, Indonesia, 41% of the population transact with cryptocurrencies. The UAE, 35%, scaling down to 15% of the population in Denmark. And this is significant. These rates are important because they obviously influence the price of cryptocurrencies over the long run, and I'll explain why. even Bitcoin ATMs are popping up around the world. Now, although the title is South African regulation, this applies globally. So in South Africa, the South African Reserve Bank announced about a month ago that they are 12 to 18 months away from introducing regulations in the cryptocurrency space. This will see cryptos regulated as a financial asset. Financial advisors will be able to advise on cryptocurrencies. Now, this isn't only in South Africa. Many countries are introducing regulations. The UAE is ahead of the curve. They're also clamping down. There was recent reports of the last 48 hours where I think law firms, estate agents were getting involved in selling properties through cryptocurrencies. And I don't know if they were evading tax or something else, but there are many countries which are looking to introduce cryptocurrencies. America, one of them, I mentioned America because it's one of the largest markets for the cryptocurrency market. Now, the introduction of regulations for me is, or should I say, investing pre the introduction of regulations is potentially the biggest opportunity in the market. And so let me repeat that statement. I believe that investing before regulations is one of the biggest opportunities in the market, because when it is regulated, the likes of the businesses that you see on the screen, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, etc., your banks in South Africa, banks around the world, will be able to give billions of people easy, simple access to cryptocurrencies. There are rumors that one of the largest banks in South Africa is doing a deal with I think Binance, one of the largest exchanges around the world. This is just one example of many where these banks are going to, in a very short period of time, give a lot of people access to this market. And as a result, the more people buying a cryptocurrency, the price will go up. There's obviously risks in an unregulated market, and we are seeing it all the time. We've seen a number of instances where cryptocurrency protocols are not playing ball, and investors have lost billions and billions of dollars. So the unregulated nature may be an opportunity, but it also means that there's a higher degree of risk. So who should be investing? Well, if you are in a position to invest money in risky investments, so if you're in a place in your life where you're investing money, you need to allocate X amount to low risk, X amount to medium risk, X amount to high risk, and then X amount to very high risk. And this is where cryptocurrencies falls in the very high risk category. And within that category or percentage, you need to determine what percentage you can allocate to cryptocurrencies. So only for people who can take risk and for people who are willing to invest for the long term. This is a 3 to 10 year investment term. And why should you be investing? My personal view is this is one of the only investments that are globally available that there's a potential of you investing 1% of your portfolio and the next 3 to 10 years it being worth 10 or 15% of your portfolio. And I believe this for many reasons, particularly because of regulation. So that's why you should be investing. Now, what have we seen? Well, last year, November, we saw the peak of the market. In Rand terms, Bitcoin was worth over R1 million. It is today worth just under 400,000 Rand. So it's come down by 60%. Well, why is there such a sell-off? Well, simply put, supply chain issues because of COVID, government restrictions because of COVID, Russia, Ukraine, oil price influence, global inflation, all these have culminated into a market which is seeing a lot of investors taking their money out of risky investments, largely because of interest rates being increased. So when interest rates are increased, investors would rather put their money into an investment which gives you effectively a guaranteed return versus keeping your investments in high-risk investments. Now, what does this cause? This causes investors to take the money out of risky investments first. And we've seen this on the Dow, having the worst start to a year since 1962. Big businesses like Nike down 32%, JB Morgan 28%, Walt Disney down 33%. Listed shares have taken a huge hit. If we have a look at the NASDAQ having its worst start ever, Apple down 12%, Amazon 21%, Tesla 24%. The world's tech businesses are seeing a huge hit in their share price. And Facebook, as an example, I think over the last 6 months has seen a 50% drop. So there's been significant sell-off of risky investments, and cryptocurrencies have not escaped this. They've seen a huge drop in market cap. And if we have a look at as of July, last month, we saw Bitcoin down roughly 50%, Ethereum down 54%, etc. So there is a huge sell-off in risky investments. If the scenario that we're currently in is not one where we are only seeing a huge sell-off in crypto, we're seeing a huge sell-off in all risky investments, whether you're in South Africa, in Europe, America. Risky investments like tech, equities, etc., are seeing a huge sell-off. That is why I and many others believe that the cryptocurrency market has had such a large hammering. Now, if you are deciding to invest into cryptocurrencies, great, but there are risks not only with a volatility. There's also risks when holding your cryptocurrency. And 2 weeks ago, the crypto pundits of this world named the week Hack Week, because billions and billions of dollars of cryptocurrencies have been stolen in that week. And historically, lots of investors have lost their cryptocurrencies, either an exchange that they've invested with. So there are lots of exchanges in South Africa, Luna, Vala, etc., where you can buy cryptocurrencies. Well, these exchanges globally have been hacked, and there have been many incidences. People have received emails, phishing emails, and have given over their passwords mistakenly. This timeline shows you an example of a number of significant hacks. So I think hacks over $30 million. There have been many hacks. And you can see on the screen, the worst is around 560 million. Last week, we saw the largest number of wallets being hacked. Over 8,000 cryptocurrency investors who had their wallets on the Solana blockchain saw millions of dollars being stolen. So where you store and how you store your cryptocurrency is something that you really need to be mindful of. And there are options. So the first option is on an exchange, and it's very common. You download an exchange app, you buy a cryptocurrency, and you just keep it there. And you think it's the safest place, but I personally believe that it is the highest risk place to keep your cryptocurrency. The second option, which is more technical, is you buy an item similar to a flash stick, and you store it on this hard wallet. The second option is, because cryptocurrency is effectively a long code of numbers, you could write it down, but you might lose your piece of paper, it may get copied, it may get damaged. Or the third option is we have a third party that specializes in storing and keeping cryptocurrencies safe. And this is a growing market globally at the moment, and I believe it's the lowest risk for an investor. And that is effectively me. I'm 10 minutes fast. Sadaf, should we go over to questions, and maybe I can just spend some more time there?
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Jonty. That was really, you covered quite a lot of ground there. It's a really nice introduction. So thank you for that. We'll obviously dive in more in next week's session with Gaurav. So, possibly, because this is such a deep topic. You talk a little bit about, tell us a little bit about the South African landscape and the sentiment around cryptocurrencies from the government's perspective and regulatory perspective.
Sure. So, the South African market has really adopted to cryptocurrencies. We've got a number of large exchanges that are seeing, anywhere between 100 million and 200 million rands worth of trades every single day. And that's across various cryptocurrencies. I think South Africans are really highly interested in cryptocurrencies, and we're seeing this through our engagements with the regulator. They are already trying to put investors in the front of their minds. We have unfortunately been victim of a number of Ponzi schemes, the MTRs of this world, the AfriCrypts of this world, where investors have seen money money stolen. So the regulators are really rapidly trying to introduce regulations to safeguard investors. So yeah, there's a huge amount of appetite in the local market.
And tell us a little bit about the arbitrage. I mean, in South Africa specifically, we're seeing a lot of companies advertise arbitrage opportunities. Well, what's the market looking like there, given that the prices are dropping? Is there any opportunity there?
Oh, so for many years, there's been a price difference of between 5 and 10%. Nowadays, it's as low as 1%. There's been a price difference between the price of Bitcoin in South Africa and in developed countries. So, if Bitcoin is 400,000 Rand in South Africa, it's 395,000 Rand in the UK. So what this gives you is an opportunity to buy Bitcoin in the UK and bring it back to South Africa and sell it for a small margin. Now, if you do this enough times with enough amount of money, it becomes a significant opportunity. And investors have really dived into this opportunity. In South Africa, we have restrictions in terms of how much money we can take out the country. It's 11 million Rand a year. And so a lot of investors have taken up on this opportunity. However, the arbitrage has really diminished as a result. And, it can anywhere between 0% to 1% to 1.5% on a daily basis. So it's become less attractive to investors. But if you don't use your foreign allowance, it does make sense. It does make sense to invest.
Yeah, I guess, we just have to clarify that for our global audience, that in South Africa, there are limits to how many, how much foreign currency we can buy. So if you could just clarify that for
so effectively in South Africa, 11 million Rand. So, if you took 11 million Rand out of the country and you bought Bitcoin and you bought it back into South Africa, you could make anywhere between 50,000 to 100,000 Rand in a really short period of time, with taking what I think is really very little risk.
So we have a question from one of our attendees on storage, cryptocurrency custody. Can you tell us a little bit about like third-party custodians? How would we decide who to store our crypto with? And I guess, how would we also know that this company or entity is not going to run away with the money?
Yeah. So, I think a lot of South Africans are quite naive around walking around with cryptocurrency on an exchange on their cell phone. So effectively, if you go and buy cryptocurrencies, you can access it on your cell phone. And unfortunately, we live in a country with a high crime rate. So if someone had to steal your cell phone and open it, or force you to open it, they could really simply have your cryptocurrency transferred to a anonymous address, and it's gone, and you'll never see it again. Similarly, if you are phished and someone accesses your cryptocurrency, they can transfer it. So the key for me is for an investor to transfer their cryptocurrency to a independent third party. And there are a number of independent third parties who do this. And effectively, what they have is systems and procedures in place to protect investors' capital. And a great example would be one where third-party authentication is required. And what I mean by this is, if I go and deposit $1 million worth of cryptocurrency with company X, the directors of that company shouldn't be allowed to withdraw that cryptocurrency without either my permission or permission of independent parties. So what you want is a custodian who has really robust security procedures and protocols in place, and particularly third parties who are involved, who should be able to authorize the withdrawal of your cryptocurrency. Now, this is common globally. It's not so common in South Africa, but we are seeing a rise in interest from investors who want this type of service. And I think if you are a significant investor in this market, or you are like me, who you believe that your cryptocurrency will be worth a lot of money over time, it would be prudent to consider an alternative to an exchange. And we call that off-exchange custody or custody services.
We have another question about custody. Do third-party custodians follow a different process compared to online exchanges, which makes them lower risk? Just trying to understand what lowers the risk.
Oh, sure. So absolutely. So a third-party custodian, normally, depending on what type of service you're looking or they offer, they will remove the cryptocurrencies completely offline. So they'll store it in a system or a system that's online but can't be accessed normally offline, where hackers aren't able to hack into the system. So if you're holding your cryptocurrency offline, it's really, really difficult for any third party to hack a system. You're then dependent on the fund manager or the manager or the custodian who's now looking after your money. You now need to trust that person. If you want to take trust out of the equation from that person, you look at a custodian who has a third party or independent parties who sign off on transactions. And that's the ultimate, that's the gold standard of how to custody your cryptocurrency. But I think the important message to get is, my personal view is the correct way to custody cryptocurrency is to take it offline completely and store it in a process or with a custodian that you believe in.
Okay, thanks. That makes it clear. We have another question, but I think this borders on investment advice, so I'm not gonna, so we can't actually answer that in this webinar, but you're most welcome to, I guess, email Jonty. It's around, is it better to buy cryptocurrencies individually or to bundle it? But I think we can't answer that because that would border investment advice. Is that right?
Listen, I'm not here to give anyone advice, but a fundamental investment theory is that the more diversified you are, the lower your risk is. So, me personally, I have a basket of cryptocurrencies. I have one cryptocurrency underperforms. Hopefully the rest in the basket will perform. So diversification is, in my personal view, a smart way to manage your cryptocurrency investments.
All right, so I think that we have no further questions, and that brings us to the end of our session. Jonty, thank you so much for your time on a Tuesday evening, on a public holiday. I know you're a very, very busy person, so we really, really appreciate that you've done this on a voluntary basis for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a lot of applause, going there for you, so really well done. I'm going to now, if you have anything further to say, you can say it now, and then I'll call on the Vice President of the Africa chapter to say a few words.
Yeah, that's it from me. Sadaf, thank you very much. And for all the attendees, thank you for your time. It's so late in South Africa, but thank you. And I hope this was informative for everyone.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, Uncle Faisal, if you're here, we just request you to please come on and say a few words and then close off with a closing dua.
Thank you, Sadaf, for asking me to say a few words on behalf of the Africa chapter of WMO. It's been some time that I've been battling at WMO International to get the GYW for Africa chapter going. And I must thank Kurambai for having motivated you and the others for getting this going. And now we're beginning to see results. And within a few days, we will officially announce the head of the local chairman for the Africa chapter. And yes, I think tonight's program will inspire more youth to come on board. And, as we embrace technology and new ways of investments, I think this is a great start that you have initiated in getting this thing about cryptocurrency going. Yes, so it's been wonderful, and let's hope more of the youth will know about this, because I see this one has been recorded, and maybe we could ask Kashifa to pass on the recording to the other members and especially to the youth.
Yeah, the recording will be available on YouTube. We're going to put it up on YouTube.
Okay, so I think that's fantastic. I'm so thrilled with the presentation today.
Thank you.
Okay, you want me to conclude with a prayer, or
Yes, please.
Kuram, you'd like to say something?
Fazlaba, thank you so much for your kind words. And concluding, I think this was a phenomenal effort from Sadaf and her team. Thank you, Jonty, for your time. I think it was very enlightening as an introductory session, and I'm sure as we delve more forward and go more into details of cryptocurrency, we will learn a lot more. But thank you for highlighting all the major aspects, including the metaverse and the NFT part of it, which has become kind of a buzzword lately. So thank you so much for your time, Jonty. Thank you. Amazing work, Sadaf and the team. And Fazlba, please conclude with dua.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Praise to be God, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, most gracious, most merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Thee do we worship, in thine aid do we seek. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Show us the straight way. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. The way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath and who do not go astray. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim.
Ameen. Jazakallah.
Thank you so much, everyone.